Ever felt a pull that defied all logic? A whisper inside you that made no sense on paper, but somehow felt more real than the facts in front of you? That's not coincidence. That's not random. That's your intuition. Your inner compass, your hidden guide, your quantum signal speaking to you in a language only you can hear. Most people ignore it. They dismiss it as a passing thought, a wild hunch, or just a trick of the mind. But what if I told you that your intuition is not just imagination? What if I told you it's rooted in something deeper, something that connects the mind, the body, and even the strange world of quantum signals? Today we're going to explore that mystery, and by the end of this video, you'll see your inner voice in a completely new light. Here's the truth. Your intuition is faster than logic. Neuroscience shows that your brain makes decisions in the background, long before your conscious mind catches up. Tiny sparks fire in parts of the brain linked to emotion, decision-making, and instinct. It's as if your mind already knows the outcome before you've had time to think it through. That's why intuition feels so immediate. It's not guessing, it's a deeper knowing, an intelligence below the surface. But here's where things get fascinating. Scientists studying quantum physics describe a world that doesn't always obey ordinary logic. Particles blink in and out of existence. They can be connected across vast distances, without any visible link. This strange behavior mirrors how intuition often feels. No visible proof, no straight path, and yet somehow, it works. It guides you, it nudges you, it signals you to move, to pause, to choose. Think about it. How many times in your life have you ignored that quiet signal, only to regret it later? How many times have you felt that inner pull, and when you followed it, things lined up in ways you could never explain? That is the silent power of your intuition, and learning to trust it could change the way you move through life. In this video, we'll go deeper into how your intuition works, why it matters, and how you can tune into it with more clarity. You'll learn why your brain is wired to pick up signals before your conscious mind even realizes it. You'll understand why, in a noisy world filled with endless data, your intuition may be your most reliable guide. And you'll discover how quantum-like signals, subtle, unseen, yet powerful, may hold the key to unlocking your next big decision, your next breakthrough, your next shift. So don't look away. Stay with me until the end. Because once you see intuition not as a guess, but as your personal quantum guide, you will never doubt that inner voice again. And when you trust it, you begin to walk in alignment with a deeper flow, a flow that could lead you exactly where you're meant to be. Before we talk about the mystery of intuition, we need to clear away the idea that it's just a vague gut feeling. People often think intuition is soft, untrustworthy, or even imaginary. But the truth is, intuition is far more powerful than most realize. It is fast, it is unconscious, and it is absolutely real. Science and experience both show us that intuition is not just a guess. It's the brain and body processing information in ways we can't consciously track. Think about how quickly you react when you sense danger. You don't sit there calculating probabilities, or weighing pros and cons. Your body moves, your heart races, and your mind tells you to act before you can even explain why. That's intuition at work. It's not a random spark. It's your subconscious recognizing patterns, drawing from memories, and connecting dots faster than logic ever could. In fact, researchers say the brain can analyze millions of bits of information at once, while your conscious mind can only handle a handful. Intuition works in that hidden space, pulling answers from an ocean of data you don't even know you have. This is why intuition feels instantaneous. By the time you become aware of the thought, "Don't take this road," or "Say yes to that opportunity," your unconscious mind has already run through countless signals, from subtle body language to environmental cues, and delivered a conclusion. It bypasses the slow steps of logic, and delivers clarity in a flash. That's why some of the best decisions in life don't come from spreadsheets or endless debates. They come from that quiet inner voice that just knows. And it's not only about survival. Intuition shows up in creativity, in business, in relationships. Artists describe it as a sudden inspiration. Entrepreneurs talk about gut instincts leading them to groundbreaking ideas. Even scientists, the most logical minds, often admit their breakthroughs began with a hunch, an intuitive lead that later proved correct. It's a reminder that intuition isn't separate from intelligence. It is intelligence, just in a different form. It's your mind working at lightning speed, below the surface, long before you consciously notice the pieces. But here's the fascinating part. Intuition doesn't feel forced. It feels natural, like it just appears. That's because it's not about building step-by-step reasoning. It's about your mind and body reading signals from the world around you, and from within you, then translating those signals into guidance. Think of it as your own built-in compass, always scanning, always pointing, even when you're not aware of it. And the more you learn to listen, the sharper it becomes. So when we say intuition is more than a gut feeling, we mean it literally. It's a system of knowing that operates in the shadows of consciousness, yet guides you with speed and precision. It's a reminder that not all wisdom is loud and obvious. Sometimes, the deepest truths come in whispers, in flashes, in that sudden sense that tells you to move without hesitation. That is intuition, fast, unconscious, and real. When we think about intuition, most of us describe it as a feeling or a nudge that comes from somewhere deep inside. But another way to picture it is as a whisper, soft but persistent, guiding you even when you don't fully understand why. Imagine it as a quantum whisper, something subtle, something invisible, but still carrying direction and meaning. Just like particles in quantum physics that shift and move in ways we can't see, intuition works quietly in the background, shaping the steps you take without needing to shout for your attention. Quantum science shows us that the universe is not always predictable. Tiny particles can exist in more than one state at once. They can influence each other across great distances, with no visible connection. It's strange, almost magical, yet it is proven reality. Now think about how your intuition often feels. It comes suddenly, without a clear path. One moment, you are lost in uncertainty, and the next you feel a pull toward a choice that feels right. There's no obvious logic you can point to, but something inside you knows. That's what makes the metaphor of a quantum whisper so powerful. Intuition may not be measurable like numbers on a page, but its influence is undeniable. You might notice this whisper in everyday life. Maybe you are walking down the street and feel urged to take a different route, only to discover later that you avoided trouble. Maybe you sense someone's mood before they even say a word. Maybe you feel compelled to call a friend at the exact moment they needed you most. These moments seem small, but they reveal how intuition guides you in ways logic can't explain. It's as if a deeper intelligence is signaling you, nudging you gently, pointing you toward alignment with something greater. What makes this idea even more fascinating is how quiet intuition usually is. Unlike fear, stress or overthinking, which shout loudly in the mind, intuition speaks softly. It doesn't demand. It suggests. It's like a whisper carried through silence. Easy to miss if you're distracted, but crystal clear when you're still. This is why so many people fail to notice it. The noise of the world, endless decisions, constant information, pressure from others, drowns out that quiet guidance. But the whisper never goes away. It keeps speaking, waiting for you to pay attention. If you imagine it as a quantum whisper, you begin to see it differently. You start to realize that your intuition may be connected not only to your subconscious mind, but also to something wider, something woven into the fabric of reality itself. Just as quantum particles can influence each other across unseen distances, maybe intuition connects you to possibilities you can't yet see. It doesn't give you the whole map. It only gives you the next step, the next choice, the next move that pulls you closer to where you're meant to be. And once you recognize it as a whisper, not a shout, you can learn to listen more carefully, more intentionally, and more openly to its quiet guidance. When you watch short videos about intuition, you'll notice a pattern. They rarely describe it as luck or chance. Instead, they present intuition as a force, something alive and purposeful, guiding you toward decisions and outcomes that logic alone cannot explain. This shift in perspective is powerful. It changes intuition from being a fleeting feeling you sometimes get into something you can actually trust and develop. Rather than seeing it as random, these videos highlight it as a natural intelligence, one that quietly shapes the direction of your life. What stands out in these messages is the idea that intuition is consistent, not accidental. If it were just random, it wouldn't appear with such clarity in critical moments. But time and again people share stories where their inner voice or sudden insight protected them, opened opportunities, or solved problems at the exact right time. It's as though intuition has a pattern, a hidden order, even if we can't fully map it. These videos point out that what feels like coincidence is often intuition aligning you with paths you can't yet see. Some videos compare intuition to gravity or magnetism, forces you can't see, but that undeniably influence your life. You don't doubt gravity because you can't see it. You accept it because you feel its effect every moment. Intuition works in a similar way. You don't always understand how it arrives, but its presence is undeniable when you act on it and see the results. When you begin to think of it as a force, you start to treat it with respect. You start to recognize its pull just like you would with any other invisible but real influence in your life. These short clips also emphasize that intuition has purpose. It's not simply throwing random suggestions into your mind. It's tuned to your experiences, your memories and your inner sense of direction. When you face a tough choice, intuition often cuts through the noise. It doesn't give you the entire plan, but it points you toward the next right step. And when you follow that step, more clarity comes. The process repeats, almost like following breadcrumbs that lead you to the bigger picture. There's also a deep encouragement in the way intuition is framed in these videos. They suggest that this force is available to everyone, not just a select few. It's not mystical in the sense of being unreachable. It's practical, everyday, and already inside you. The only difference between those who live guided by intuition and those who ignore it is awareness. One group has learned to listen and trust, while the other dismisses the signals as random noise. That means developing intuition isn't about creating something new. It's about tuning into what's already present. By describing intuition as a force, these videos inspire people to see it as a reliable ally. It is not something to brush aside, but something to lean on, especially when logic runs out of answers. Just as a compass doesn't tell you everything about the terrain, but always points you north, intuition doesn't give you every detail, but it aligns you with the direction that matters most. The more you begin to view it as a guiding force, the more you start to recognize how often it's been there, quietly shaping your journey, waiting for you to pay attention. When we talk about intuition, it often feels mysterious, almost magical. But beneath that mystery lies a fascinating truth about the brain. Scientists have discovered that certain regions like the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, often called the VRMPFC, and the basal ganglia, are deeply involved in shaping our intuitive decisions. These areas work in the background, silently gathering and processing information, long before we become consciously aware of what's happening. It's as if the brain is running a secret program, quietly pointing us in the right direction. The ventromedial prefrontal cortex is a key player here. This part of the brain is strongly linked to emotion, value judgments and decision-making. It acts almost like a filter, weighing past experiences and emotional cues to guide choices in the present. Imagine facing two options. Your logical mind might still be analyzing pros and cons, but your VRMPFC has already run through your history, your feelings and subtle signals you've picked up, then nudges you toward the option that feels right. That nudge is what we often experience as intuition. It doesn't shout, it simply presents a sense of certainty, as if one path holds more weight than the other. The basal ganglia add another layer of support. This set of structures is involved in habit, learning and pattern recognition. While you go about your day, the basal ganglia are constantly scanning for familiar patterns, even in situations where you aren't paying close attention. When something matches or doesn't match,
Those patterns it triggers signals that influence your decision making. That's why you might feel uneasy around a situation without knowing why. Your basal ganglia have picked up on details your conscious mind hasn't noticed. That uneasy feeling is your intuition alerting you. What makes this process so remarkable is its speed. Conscious reasoning is slow. You gather facts, weigh them, and build arguments. But these brain regions bypass that process. They integrate emotion, memory, and perception almost instantly, delivering a response that feels. This is why intuition can seem to appear out of nowhere. It's not magic, it's your brain working behind the curtain, pulling together countless threads of information and presenting you with a clear sense of direction. These unconscious processes also explain why intuition can be trained. The more experiences you have, the more data your brain collects. Over time, the VRMPFC and basal ganglia refine their ability to make accurate predictions. This is why experts in any field often speak of a gut feeling that guides them. A firefighter senses when a building is unsafe. A doctor knows when something is wrong without a clear test result. An athlete reacts to a play before their opponent even makes a move. These aren't random guesses. They're intuitive decisions powered by brain regions that have learned from countless past experiences. Understanding this shows us that intuition is not separate from science or reason. It's part of how the brain evolved to help us survive and thrive. The VRMPFC and basal ganglia don't need your conscious permission to act. They're always at work, scanning, learning and whispering their guidance. You may not hear the process, but you feel the outcome, that sudden sense of knowing, that pull toward one choice, that quiet confidence in a decision you can't yet explain. In today's world, we are surrounded by more information than ever before. Every second, messages, headlines, numbers and opinions fight for our attention. We scroll, we search, we analyze, and still we often end up overwhelmed. Too much data can paralyze us. It can make even simple choices feel complicated, leaving us stuck in endless cycles of comparison and hesitation. This is where intuition becomes not just useful but essential. It cuts through the noise and offers clarity when logic drowns in overload. Intuition doesn't need 1,000 data points to reach a conclusion. It works by pulling from stored experiences, emotions and patterns your mind has already absorbed. While your conscious brain struggles to keep up with the flood of information, your intuition filters it instantly, presenting a clear sense of direction. It's as if your inner compass knows how to find the signal in the middle of all the static. In a world of constant noise, that kind of clarity is priceless. This clarity is not about ignoring facts. It's about knowing when enough is enough. Logic helps gather details, but intuition tells you when to stop searching and start acting. Without that balance, you risk endless hesitation. You keep looking for one more piece of proof, one more opinion, one more sign. Intuition ends that loop. It says, trust this, move forward. In doing so, it saves time, energy, and even opportunities that might have been lost in hesitation. Another reason intuition provides clarity is because it is deeply personal. Data often speaks in general terms. It tells you what works for most people, but not necessarily what works for you. Intuition translates the flood of external information into something aligned with your inner world. It weighs your values, your goals, your history, and your feelings, then distills everything into a direction that fits you specifically. That's why two people can look at the same information but feel drawn to different choices. Each person's intuition shapes clarity that is unique to their own path. In a fast-moving, data-heavy age, the ability to act from clarity is rare. Many people hesitate because they can't make sense of the noise around them. But those who trust intuition move with confidence. They're not distracted by every new detail. They're not paralyzed by endless analysis. They can act quickly, yet wisely, because they let their inner compass guide them when the outside world becomes too overwhelming. This is the real gift of intuition in the information age. It gives you clarity when facts alone leave you confused. When we talk about intuition and quantum physics, it's important to be clear. Science has not proven that the two are directly connected. There is no experiment that shows intuition comes from quantum particles or mysterious quantum fields, and yet people often link them together because both deal with the invisible, the subtle and the unexplained. They move in different worlds, one rooted in human experience, the other in physics, but they share a language of signals that are felt or detected without. Quantum physics reveals that reality is far stranger than we once believed. At the smallest scales, particles behave in unpredictable ways. They can exist in multiple states at once. They can affect each other across vast distances instantly, as if connected by an invisible thread. These behaviors defy our everyday logic, but they are measurable, testable and real. Intuition, though not a scientific concept, has a similar mystery to it. It arrives suddenly, without an obvious path. You don't see the calculations, you don't hear but you sense the result. Both intuition and quantum physics remind Thunderburst remind us that not all truths are loud and obvious. Some are subtle, whispering beneath the surface. What fascinates people is the resemblance between the two. Intuition feels like receiving signals from somewhere beyond conscious awareness. You don't know exactly where they come from, but you know they carry meaning. Quantum mechanics, too, deals with signals and influences that happen without visible contact. This parallel doesn't prove that intuition is quantum, but it makes the metaphor compelling. It suggests that just as reality itself can operate through hidden connections, maybe the human mind has ways of sensing hidden patterns and acting on them. Another shared trait is subtlety. Quantum effects are delicate and easily disturbed. They happen in spaces we can't directly see, yet their impact is undeniable. Intuition is also delicate. It doesn't scream like fear or anxiety. It shows up as a nudge, a quiet pull, or a whisper in your thoughts. If you ignore it, it fades. If you pay attention, it grows clearer. In both cases, subtlety is the key. Signals that are small but powerful, but to change the direction of what comes next. The connection also lies in how both challenge our trust in logic alone. Traditional science once believed the universe was entirely predictable, like clockwork. Quantum physics shattered that certainty by showing us probabilities, uncertainty, and hidden influences. Intuition challenges us in the same way. It bypasses logic, showing us truths we can't explain with step-by-step reasoning. Following it requires faith in something unseen, a willingness to trust signals that logic can't yet explain. So while there is no direct scientific proof linking quantum physics and intuition, both occupy a space that stretches the limits of our understanding. Both remind us that not everything real can be touched or measured in simple ways. Sometimes reality speaks in whispers, sometimes guidance comes from places we don't fully see. And whether it's the strange behavior of particles or the quiet voice within, both reveal that unseen signals may carry more power than we realize. In the rush of daily life, intuition often gets buried under noise. We are constantly scrolling, answering, reacting and moving so fast that the subtle signals within us are drowned out. Intuition doesn't fight for attention the way stress or fear does. It speaks softly. To hear it again, you need to create space. Two of the simplest but most powerful ways to do this are journaling and pausing. Both practices slow you down, clear away the clutter, and open the door for your inner voice to come through. Journaling works because it translates the jumble of thoughts in your head into something you can see. When you write, you give your mind permission to release what it's been holding on to. Sometimes you don't even know what you're thinking until you see it written down. This act of clearing makes space for intuition to rise. Amid all the words, you start to notice patterns. You see feelings that repeat, ideas that return, or choices that feel lighter when you write them out. Journaling doesn't just record your thoughts. It reveals the quiet signals beneath them. It shows you what your intuition has been whispering all along. Pausing is just as essential. In a world that rewards constant action, stopping can feel unnatural, even uncomfortable. But pause is where intuition lives. When you stop moving for a moment, when you take a deep breath, when you let silence settle in, you create room for subtle awareness. That's when you notice the gut pull, the calm certainty, the inner yes or no that was hidden behind the noise of overthinking. The pause doesn't have to be long. It can be a few minutes of breathing, a quiet walk without your phone, or simply sitting in stillness before making a decision. What matters is that you step out of the constant stream of stimulation. That gap is where intuition finds its way back to you. Together, journaling and pausing build a bridge between the conscious and unconscious mind. Your unconscious holds countless experiences, memories and impressions that shape your intuitive sense. But without space, those signals get lost. Writing them out and slowing down allows them to surface in ways you can notice and trust. It's like tuning a radio. When there's too much static, you can't hear the station. But when you adjust the dial, the signal becomes clear. Journaling and pausing are those adjustments, clearing the static so the quiet frequency of intuition comes through. Many people think intuition is a rare gift that appears at random, but in truth it's always present. The reason we miss it is because we are too busy to listen. By creating a rhythm of writing and pausing, you remind yourself that your inner voice has value. You give it space to speak, and in that space, what felt confusing begins to untangle. What seemed hidden becomes obvious. The answers you were chasing outside of yourself suddenly appear within, written in your own words, or felt in the calm that comes after a pause. That is where intuition waits, quiet, steady, ready to guide you the moment you remember to listen. Many people pause when they hear the word intuition. They wonder if it is truly a guiding force or simply their mind playing tricks shaped by past bias and memory. Before we can follow intuition, we must ask, is it genuine wisdom, or is it just a story the brain is repeating? This question matters because acting on bias disguised as intuition can lead us down the wrong path, while ignoring genuine inner signals can keep us stuck where we are. The line between the two can feel thin, but with awareness, the difference begins to show. One way to recognize bias is to notice patterns that feel reactive instead of calm. Bias often comes with a strong emotional charge, anger, fear, or the desire to protect an old belief. Genuine intuition, by contrast, tends to arrive quietly. It doesn't argue or push. It feels more like a soft knowing, a pull in a direction, without needing to explain itself. Bias shouts. Intuition whispers. The key is learning how to tell the two apart in real time. Another filter is time. If you feel a rush to decide instantly, it's often bias. Intuition, while fast, doesn't usually carry panic with it. It may show up as a sudden insight, but it leaves you with a sense of clarity, not urgency. Bias thrives on fear of missing or protecting the ego, while intuition can wait, confident that its truth will still be there tomorrow. By pausing and breathing, you create space for the genuine signal to stand apart from the noise. Reflection helps too. Ask yourself, where is this impulse coming from? If it's tied to past hurt, insecurity, or the need to prove something, you may be dealing with bias. But if the thought feels new, detached from your old stories, and carries a sense of expansion, it may be intuitive. Think of it as the difference between replaying an old record and receiving a fresh note of music. One is recycled, the other feels alive. Practical exercises can strengthen this filter. Journaling, for example, allows you to separate the emotional echo of bias from the steady stream of intuition. By writing down your thoughts and impulses, you can look back later and see which came from fear and which came from calm certainty. Over time, this record becomes proof of your intuition's accuracy, building trust in your inner compass. It also helps to test intuition in small ways. Start with simple low-risk decisions, like which route to take home or which book to pick up. Notice how you feel afterward. Did the choice open up ease, or did it feel like you were forcing something? The more you practice, the sharper your ability becomes to tell when bias is steering, and when genuine intuition is guiding. At its heart, intuition is not about being mystical or magical. It is about tuning into subtle signals that bias often drowns out. By asking honest questions, slowing down, and noticing the emotional quality of the impulse, you begin to filter, and in that filtering, intuition reveals itself as a real force, something more than habit, more than memory, something that guides you toward clarity. In a world full of noise, your intuition isn't random, it's a quiet guide, a quantum signal you just need to listen to. When you learn to trust it, you move with a different kind of confidence. Choices stop feeling heavier, paths open with less resistance, and opportunities arrive almost as if they were waiting for you. The world no longer feels like pure chance, it feels like communication. You're not wandering in confusion, you're responding to subtle guidance that's been there all along, whispering in ways that logic can't always explain, but your soul understands deep. So start leaning into those nudges. Notice when an idea comes quickly, when a feeling insists without a clear reason, or when something just feels aligned even if you can't put it into words. That's not guesswork, that's your inner compass, tuned to a frequency beyond ordinary thought. The more you listen, the clearer it becomes. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Together, we'll keep exploring the hidden signals, the subtle truths, and the deeper wisdom waiting for you to unlock.